Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. I'm Helen Higginbotham. I'm the host, and today our guest is Miss Sue Ballew St. Clair, and she's going to talk to us about Are We Our Ancestors? And I'm just curious to see what that conjures up for everybody, right? Because there's a lot of things that come to mind when we talk about Are We Our Ancestors, particularly now. So, Sue, I'm calling you Sue. But anyway, thank you, Sue, for coming to
Yes.
do this. I truly appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate being asked. It's an honor for me to be here. And I
Yeah,
want to thank everyone who has joined us to hear about this. And I hope
yeah,
that you won't be disappointed.
not
But
at
I
all.
will go ahead and start then.
Wait a minute,
So
hold
I'm
on. Let
going
me
to
do a
share
real
screen.
quick. Let me do a quick intro and let folks know who
Oh,
you are.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought
No,
that was
no,
it.
no, no. I just say thank you and welcome.
Okay.
And also, the ground rules is that you all know that she will do her presentation. Just so you know, if you have questions along the way, make sure that you put them in the chat. But real quickly, and she will tell you much more about herself, but I'm just going to give you an overview. Sue Ballew St. Clair has served in different leadership roles during her career, both within the US and internationally. Although partially retired, so she says. I don't know how, because she's doing a lot. Ms. St. Clair serves on the board of partners in racial justice, an organization focused on creating meaningful ways of bringing all people together in pursuit of racial justice, healing, and unity with a focus to reach Black, Indigenous peoples, and youth. She is creator of Spirit of Blackness, a monthly program designed and specifically targeted for Africans and people of African descent. She is a Baha'i since discovering that faith at the age of 19. She serves on the board of Copper to Gold, a Baha'i inspired nonprofit organization dedicated to achieving race harmony by providing safe spaces for individuals of the white dominant culture to recognize and transform attitudes and behaviors harmful to Black, Indigenous, and people of color. She has a master's of science degree in nursing, preparing her as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and earned her Graduate Innovative Project Award in Nursing. She also has a master's degree in public health while earning the coveted Gangarosa Award in International Health, both at Emory University and Atlanta, while serving as the National Director of Psychiatric Nurse Practitioners for a company. She was awarded the Outstanding Professional Award in 2010. Racial justice and healing are at the center of her work in contributing to spiritually just and loving communities. She is committed to holding spaces of unity and healing in our community. We are fortunate to have her explore this topic with us, and please join me in welcoming her to our gathering. Thank you so much, Sue, for
Wow.
coming.
I guess I do a lot as it relates to race, huh?
That's yeah,
But that's my thing now. I think
that's
it's
your
important
thing.
to
Yes, for
be
sure,
focusing on that.
for sure,
Um,
for sure. So I'm going to go off screen and it's all yours. Thank you so much.
okay.
And you have questions especially if you're on the phone, let us know. But if you have questions, put them in the chat. And as Sue said, if you want to write them down just so you're sure not to forget them, that's perfect too. All righty. See you later.
Okay. Okay, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. I'm starting with the ancient peoples of the world, which are us. And the wonderful thing about the internet is that now um, we can be certain that it was Black people out of Africa that were the original peoples. I'm just going to do one little thing here before I move on. There we go. Okay, and I want to move this over a little bit and get you out of the way. I'm giving you plenty of time to read this, aren't I?
Uh, yeah, I'm trying to figure. I was thinking how to tell you how to just show your one slide at a time.
I'm doing that now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, and I have to move this out of the way.
Yeah.
I'll move it down here. There we go. So Abdu'l Baha, who is the son of Baha'u'llah, who we who we recognize, those who are Baha'is recognize Baha'u'llah as the latest manifestation of God for today. It's he is his son and he's our example. Um, but he also is knowledgeable about the history of mankind. And here's what he says. It was established before through rational arguments that life on this earth is very ancient, not 1 or 200,000 or even 1 or 2 million years old. It is ancient indeed. Now, the reason why I chose this image of man who looks similar to like something between an ape and a man is that's what we looked like at one point. Um, and as we developed and evolved, we became more of what we look like now. So to go on, the history of Black people began at the dawn of human civilization, the very period in which the race was at the forefront in every field of human cultural development. As people, it was imperative that the truth about significant contributions of Black people to education and civilization be reconstructed and incorporated as part of the educational program for the people of African descent all over the world. So today, as modern African historians and educators, we're finding more and more about who we were back before the colonial period, even before Christ. So the early humans had to be ingenious in problem solving. They were experts at mathematical solutions to solve problems in order for them to thrive in hostile environments. The earliest known evidence of mathematical calculations are what's called the Lumumbo and the Ishango bone, which they found in one in the area one in the area around the DNC, what is it called? I'm trying to think of the republic.
Congo.
Congo, thank you, thank you. Around the Congo, and the other one was around an area in South Africa. And they are both in the Belgium Museum. There's a story behind that, but that's for another time with another type of presentation. At any rate, throughout the Paleolithic period, which was a period of many, many years ago, even before fire was created, this was a time when African species were running the race to developing their technology in order for survival. This is a map of that's considered to be a map of the indigenous peoples of Africa before the European and Arabic invasion into the African continent. Specifically, Kemet was known as Egypt. Kush was the area just below Egypt that provided a number of the kings and rulers of Egypt at one point in time. And I think it was the 25th dynasty that all of the kings and rulers there was no argument about them having been Black. Other areas you may know something about, such as the Songhai Empire or the Akan Empire, which was Ghana, or the San, and it was the San peoples who populated China. This is just a map of the earlier migrations of people out of Africa into Asia, Australia, other parts of Africa, and into Asia, and ultimately into North and South America. During that time, there were a number of empires that they began early in before, like I said, before Christ. I'm going to have to move this out of the way because it's getting in my way. So I'm going to have to forget about having this. Let me see here.
Yeah, it looks like a
There
gray
we go.
box.
So so these are all of the African kingdoms that existed, and you may be familiar with some of them. And these are photos of images these are images of actual artifacts that were found in tombs in Egypt of African kings. Sumer was one of the first civilizations in the Mediterranean after the transmigration of Africans out of Africa into the other areas. The first area that's known is not only Egypt, but also the Middle East. Sumer was an area that was around what is now considered to be Iraq, and they were known to be all Black people. They created the first real civilization where there was actually language, writings. They built irrigation. They developed engineering and sciences and medicine. They had fine arts and so on. The sculpture is a head of a Sumerian ruler. What's interesting is if you go and you investigate all of the rulers that existed in Egypt and Africa and earlier times, very often you'll find that the nose has been desecrated. And it's to the reason is to avoid any perception that this was actually a Black person. Because if they had the full nose, that nose is what makes it clear that the individuals who were rulers of the time were actually Black. Just a little bit more about Sumer. This is a time period when it existed. So as you can see, this civilization developed thousands of years after the Africans in Africa's African civilizations. But it was the first to develop certain inventions like the wheel, sailboat, irrigation systems, and so on. I'm going through this fairly quickly because I just wanted to give some sense of who the ancient peoples were and what they accomplished in order for us to talk about being their descendants. This is a Sumerian princess. Again, her nose was destroyed. Babylon came into being after Sumer and rose to prominence, and it became not an organization, but a civilization that did more additional work in advancement in mathematics, astronomy, architecture, and so on. And we've heard of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. We've heard of the Code of Hammurabi out of Babylon. And we also know that Babylon was in the Bible, was historically the civilization that tried to create the Tower of Babel. Whether that's real or myth, remains to be seen. But these images here are to show that the people were Black people. This was a poem by Langston Hughes, and it speaks of the long history of Black people in Africa and the Middle East, all along the Nile and other rivers.
The Negro Speaks of Rivers by Langston Hughes. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. End of poem.
Okay, now I just need you to go forward here. There we go. Just wanted to share just a little bit too about the time of Egypt when the Israelites were enslaved. Again, these were Black people. And these are, what do they call it, hieroglyphics of art that was done by people of the time that shows that what they look like. A couple of biblical quotes that speaks of the Israelites and how they were um, honored. They were considered wonderful by God. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me from all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. So even back then, and you'll find now today, the Black people are still considered to be chosen people. I will explain that. By the time that the Middle Ages came, the Black people the Black cultures, Black communities, kingdoms, empires began to be destroyed, first by the Arabians and then by white Europeans. By the 15th century, it started to become a usual event. There were three things that made Africa a threat. And the reason why it was the Black whites, European whites, and their Arabs wanted to destroy them. One is that they understood them to be the oldest humans possessing the oldest civilizations, and there was jealousy and envy regarding that. Also, they were considered to have that one drop rule, that started then. That if there's one drop of African blood, then they would have corrupted the non-African blood and therefore would be considered Black or Negro. So there was a primordial fear of this genetic annihilation of whites. The final threat was that Africa held and still do hold a number of resources, a great deal of wealth, gold, diamonds, and so on. And first the Arabs and then later the Europeans, they wanted this wealth for themselves. So Black civilizations began a long and slow decline. By the 15th century, much of Black civilization in Africa and Egypt and other areas was being systematically and categorically destroyed, altered, discounted, or disbelieved or attributed to any group other than Blacks, even in Black Africa. And as the horrors of colonization began to take hold and slavery started to take place and take more and more of a concrete shape, Blacks began to forget who they really are and began taking on the identity that was forced upon us. We developed what is known as spiritual amnesia. That's my term for it, because we forgot who we really were. Although there were all kinds of slavery, the worst kind of slavery was what took place in America because it was called chattel slavery. If I'm a slave, that means my children are slaves. That means their children are slaves. There's no getting away from it. In addition, I lose everything about who I am. I lose my language. I lose my culture. I lose anything that associates me with being human. There's a quote here that says, the Middle Passage uprooted bodies, transporting them to alien lands, dislocated their psyches, imposed an alien world view, uprooted their psyches from their own culture to their insertion into another one, in which the basic values were pro-white and anti-Black, and so on. This led to a distortion of the human spirit, and W.E.B. Du Bois called this a double consciousness. He said this was a sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity, to explain American racial minorities' self-perception as heavily influenced by the white majority's perception of them. So this peculiar sensation he called two-ness, an American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings, and so on. So the history of the American Negro is one of this kind of internal strife, this longing to attain a self-conscious manhood, to merge his double self into a better and truer self, but not knowing how or in what way to do it. Another quote that speaks to the same situation: the oppressor not only becomes an oppressor without, but also becomes an oppressor within. So having an inferiority complex leads him to internalizing the same kind of rage and oppression that was placed upon him to his own people. And this was called being autopressors, in which they engaged in self-destructive behaviors towards their loved ones, their neighbors, and themselves. I'd like to share with you what Wendell Pierce had to say about this.
Every aspect of the Black community is being attacked. And it's being attacked by gaslighting and dog whistles, but it is direct. It is white supremacists who do not have our best interest at heart and will do everything to destroy our community. I actually hate to call it white supremacy because that's what they think of themselves. It's racist, white racism. This racism against Black folks. We have a great responsibility to the people who have gone before, who have made the ultimate sacrifice, who have given their lives to make sure that our lives would be better. Their deaths would be in vain if I didn't speak out.
Still having a hard time getting this to go.
Every aspect.
There we go. So, having shared with you about what happened to Black people who had full civilizations that were active, that were protective, that had language, that had culture, and then being reduced to not knowing anything about these civilizations that they came from, they still had roots. The roots were still there. The roots were still deep. It's just a matter of knowing that those roots exist within each one of us. And when we know what our roots are, then we have no reason to fear the wind. In other words, we have no reason to fear what anyone else has to say about us or any behaviors that anyone tries to do to us. So speaking of the African and African diaspora, the diaspora are those people who are of African descent that live outside of the Africa, but have ancestors who were African. So we must recognize that under duress, great things are born. Diamonds form in molten stone. We must not run away from our hardships in life. We must go through them, however fiery they may be, and bring with us out of the fire a stronger character, a deeper reliance upon ourselves. The Baha'i teachings highlight that those who have been oppressed will rise as spiritual leaders. This is specifically referring to people of Africa and African descent, citing a passage from the Quran about making those who are brought low our heirs. Just so that we can begin, if we don't already know, some of what we carry within us as spiritual and intellectual qualities. We have a deep spirituality that's expressed in the way we pray, in the music we provide, in the dances that we produce, in the poetry that we creatively envision and share with the world, and in other kinds of artistic expressions. We are humble before our God. We have imagination and creativity. We're healers. We're creators. We're innovators and inventors. We're orators. We are flexible and adaptable. Resilience is not in this list. I didn't put in this list, but resilience would be another um, adjective to describe who we are as a people. We are family and community oriented. We're civilization builders, and we've proved this over and over again throughout eons. Even in America, we built civilizations that were rapidly destroyed by those of the dominant culture, but we built them. We have an unbreakable connection with the quote, I am because we are, or Ubuntu. I'm moving now into what our Black consciousness should look like.
Take the next step in treating your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis with Entyvio, the only gut-focused treatment for UC that helps block.
There we go.
I'm Lewis Gordon, author of Fear of Black Consciousness. You may ask, what is the fear of Black consciousness? Well, the fear of Black consciousness is the fear of truth. It's a truth in which Black people are recognized, treated, and understand ourselves as agents of history. And as agents of history, we also are able to live our freedom with dignity and respect. But in a white supremacist and an anti-Black society, there's another fear. And that fear is that the realization of dignity and respect for Black people is a world in which white supremacists and anti-Black racists have become irrelevant. There's also another issue, and that other issue is related to how people tend to talk about Black people, because you see, many people think their Black people are the Black people. And what is ignored is the set of Black people who are in South America, in countries like Brazil, Colombia, all over the Caribbean, where we have the largest populations of Black people in this side of the Atlantic. What is often ignored is the complexity of Black peoples in Africa, but also in South Asia. For instance, when we think about the Dalit populations or those in the Pacific Islands and across the globe, or even the complicated histories of Scandinavia, France, or the very fact that in Iberia, in Portugal, and in Spain, we have what created the Euro-modern world through which we think of Black people today. So
I just wanted to hear that part, wanted to have you hear that part of it. Got to get past it now. I think I'm going to have to stop sharing in order to move past it. Okay, let's go back now. So as what he was talking about, Black consciousness and how we have to ignore what others are saying about us in order to develop our own Black consciousness. Here's what Andrea Esparza says about what that is. It is an awareness that we have the ability to control what we, the audience of society, listen to. The power to spread a proper and improper representation of one's heritage is up to us as individuals. This power is inescapable, which is why self-consciousness is extremely important. It enables one to be able to detect and exile racial adversities. I want you to hear what Toni Morrison has to say
the green lip mussels that are
as soon as I can skip past this.
Of New Zealand.
Okay.
There are no major white characters in your books.
No. The Black narrative has always been understood to be a confrontation with some white people. I'm sure there are many of them. They are not terribly interesting to me. What is interesting to me is what is going on within the community. And within the community, there are no major white players. Once I thought, what is life like if they weren't there? Which is the way we lived it, the way I lived it.
Toni Morrison was born Chloe Anthony Wofford in Lorain, Ohio, not far from Cleveland. It was the Depression. Her father was a ship welder, her mother a housewife. The neighborhood was mixed and sometimes hostile.
People set our house on fire to evict us when I was about 2 years old.
Set the house on fire?
While we were in it.
Why?
So we wouldn't be there, so we would leave.
Chloe's father, George Wofford, had migrated to Ohio from the South. Experiences like the fire reinforced the deep feelings he already had about whites.
He simply felt that he was better, superior to all white people. His experience taught him that he was always in the company of inferior people when he was surrounded by whites. You know, he didn't let white people in the house. They came when he was not there, you know, insurance men and so on.
Your father sounded like he had a tough core to him.
Oh, very much so. He was an ordinary man, but an extraordinary man at the same time. He was very clear about what the dangers were and very clear about what he wanted for his children.
Does your writing have a political point of view?
Oh yeah. The truth I happen to be most interested in has to do with the nature of oppression and how people survive it or don't. It's amazing to me, particularly for African Americans, just amazing that we're not all dead. That's a constant shocker.
Paris is one of the few places where she has lived outside the United States, and she clearly likes it here, in part because the French seem more interested in her writing than her race.
When you know somebody's race, what do you know? Virtually nothing. You add to it all the stereotypical information and all the baggage that goes with race, but you don't know anything about that person just because you know race.
And get it down again. I'm having a problem with it moving forward. I'm going to have to stop sharing again so that I can do that. Okay, so whereas in the past, in both the Old Testament and the New Testament, there is mention of the chosen people. And because the people that lived at that time were Black people, we can only assume that it was the Black people that were considered to be the chosen people. I wanted to share something else related to that. And I can find that real quick. As far as the white people were concerned, they didn't come into being until 10,000 years ago. So before that, of course, it was a gradual change as one person after another uh, mutated into lighter and lighter skin as they moved into northern climates and adapted to the environment. The first individuals that lived, like, say, in the furthest northern climes were people who were very dark skinned. But over centuries, they became lighter and lighter until they became what by the 17th century were called white. Before that, there was no term like that for them. But it was about 10,000 years ago that these variants for lighter skin became widespread. And it was because of the need to be able to absorb vitamin D. So I wanted to just share that as an additional statement regarding why the chosen people would have to have been Black. Today, they're called the pupil. We are called the pupil of the eye. Verily, the faces of these are as the pupil of the eye. Although the pupil is created Black, yet it is the source of light. I hope God will make these Black ones the glory of the white ones, and as a depository of the lights of the love of God. And I beg God to assist them in all circumstances, that they may be encompassed with the favors of their loving Lord throughout centuries and ages. Another quote, the reflection of a person is seen in the Black pupil of the eye. In other words, the pupil of the eye is a mirror of social reality. In other words, it's Black people that can see clearly what is before them and with more clarity understand what needs to happen and how things need to move forward. I wanted to share this about today's more, and we know that even during slavery times and during the times after slavery, during Reconstruction, and then during Jim Crow laws, Black inventions never stopped. During slavery, invariably they were taken over by their white masters and put their name to the inventions. But there were those that got through enough so that we know that for sure that there were Black inventors, that there were Black innovators. We know that there was a lot of creativity, and it comes through in the music and in the art that was produced. We know that much of the music that we now have in America originated first in Africa and adapted in America by first those who were enslaved, and perfected more and more by later generations of Blacks having to do, such as the blues, the jazz, even classical music was, there were Black people that created some of the classical music in Europe. So that has not stopped. And we know that there were scientific inventions, and there were inventions that made our lives easier today, like the iron and the ironing board, the elevator, the street light, electricity, running the electricity. Thomas Edison is given credit for that, but the person that made it work was his assistant. By making a filament that would be able to burn long enough to be able to have an electric light. So that's just a summary, a quick overview of some of the inventions that took place. Blood, that was the way that blood was determined. The blood division of blood for us was determined by a Black man. So today we still have a wealth of innovators who have been both in Africa and in the United States and other parts of the world that have continued to create and are now being acknowledged as being the inventors of what they're doing. So from sustainability to health to entertainment, Black inventors are pushing boundaries and improving lives and livelihoods. The lessons of Black ingenuity throughout our history have a lot to teach us about tackling the problems we see in the present. If you remember early on when I talked about the people that when they were still in Africa, how they had to master a certain degree of mathematics and science for their time, just for survival in the areas, in the environment that they were living in. I wanted to share a little bit about some of the actual inventors of today that you may or may not have already heard of. In addition to I'll read this quote first. Today, there are significant opportunities to combat climate, social, health, and economic injustices while actively shaping the future we envision. In these times, the need to recognize and embrace Black ingenuity is possibly more critical than ever. I wrote down just a few of the inventors that are starting to come to the surface. One is a lady by the name of Denise Gray. She helped to pioneer battery technology for electric cars. Lonnie Smoot was a prolific inventor and engineer, and he developed the first high-quality, large-screen video teleconferencing system and went on to invent some of the first video streaming systems. Sean Springs founded WindPact, a technology and applied science company focused on impact protection. The company developed Crash Cloud, an advanced cushioning technology that absorbs and distributes air upon contact to soften impact and reduce the risk of serious injury. In Africa, there's a young man that created AI robotic prosthetic arm made out of junk pile scraps without any funding for that. He did it on his own from scraps because his mind just needed to be able to exercise that kind of bringing the invitation into the world. Also, the first humanoid robot was developed in Africa. Burkina Faso youth built electric cars from scraps. Self-powered electric car was developed in Zimbabwe. In Malawi, I don't know if you've seen the movie, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Well, a 14-year-old boy brought electricity to his village by using scrap metal from junk piles to create a windmill to draw up water to irrigate the land so that they could grow crops. The land was so arid that they weren't able to grow crops. But then he went on to invent electricity for his village. So these inventions are becoming more and more prolific, and they are for the whole of mankind. I'm sharing this as this is a lady who does what is it called? It's not a poem. It's a well, you'll know when you see it.
Spoken word.
Spoken word, yes, thank you. Oh, wait.
Answer to don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. This, my friend,
is that sound low to you?
It's very low. Your volume is down on the video.
Let's see. In order for me, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Desperate for space.
Okay, let's start over.
Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. This, my friend, is for you. The trials that you face and the dreams that you chase, you're behind in your race and you're straying from your pace. Your mind is scattered all over the place and you're desperate for space. Little did you know this is your time to embrace. Don't give up, don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. You know, we tend to hide what's inside and waste time on what could have been. It isn't the key to believe in our own identity. Your past brought you here. This is where it all begins. Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. So don't sit hour after hour while your tribulations tower. Don't forget the countless blessings over which you have been showered. Find your strengths and your powers to rise above the cowards. Be like the flowers that give off its scent when it's crushed and devoured. Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. And I found myself running from calamity, insanity to sanity. This is a reality that we forget. Who created us and molded us and made us human beings with the details and fashion of DNA and genes. Who gave us a mind to judge our own actions and routines. By all means, don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. And yes, life can be quite a mystery, and the key to success is to come free. And if you believe that this is all decreed, then what will be will be. But I guess not everything that we wish for is always guaranteed. But your efforts won't be fruitless. Don't ever think you are useless. We all serve a purpose, so please don't feel hopeless. Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. And no, you're not just another number to be disposed of after. You're a mother, father, sister, brother, friend, and a lover. To be true to yourself is worth the struggle, though the critics make you suffer. Trees lose their leaves only to blossom by the summer. Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything. So repel negativity with positivity and watch life with every single possibility and have an attitude for gratitude. And if you want to be happy, that's exactly what we're meant to do. Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything.
Okay, well, this time I don't have to stop and then start again. That ends it.
Are we into Q&A now or no?
Say that again?
You said that ends the presentation or just the video?
Oh, that ends the presentation.
Oh, okay, wonderful. I mean, that was really uplifting. Thank you so much. Let me find my, oh, here I am. So you put a lot of thought into that. That was just well done. A lot of good information that I'm going to guess some people did not have before. So let's talk now. Anybody, I'm scanning now. I was trying to scan the chats at the same time. There's a lot of activity, mostly me, going on in the chats. When you talked about Egypt, I was like, yeah, because I went to Egypt. That's the first country I went to in Africa, and yeah, they left us so much proof that they are the original people. Whether it's you share the hieroglyphics when you go into the catacombs, you'll see the hieroglyphics of people in brown. So why would people tell a story about themselves with people that don't look like themselves? I remember going into the museum and any hairstyle that we've ever worn, from the afro to the dreadlocks to the cornrows to just whatever, it was in there. The wigs were in there. And you just literally walk around the whole time that you're there, just in total amazement.
Wow.
And I always say,
that's wonderful that you had that opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anybody else been to Egypt or have stories of Africa that they want to share? And when we talk about are we our ancestors, I mean, can we talk a little bit about what that conjures up for folks, right? Because for me, it's, we hear people all the time saying, I'm not my ancestor. And sometimes they're saying it to, don't think you can beat me, or I'm going to just look, turn the other cheek because those days are over. And sometimes, we're saying that we are our ancestors and that we have, resilience and we've been here before and we can get through it. So I don't know. Those were my thoughts around it.
I have a different perspective when I went to Nigeria, and it was in 1990. And as conscious as I was raised to be when I was there, and just seeing I would say the aftermath of slavery and them transporting each other to the U.S., letting them go and fighting over. All I saw was crookedness. All I saw was them hating on each other. And I literally, when I got home, and I was about 26 years old. But when I got home, I was kind of grateful that there was the slave trade, because it made me feel like what was left there in Nigeria um, was all that ugly. I mean, yeah, we've gone through it here, but it was just them, and it seemed like to me it was just all these Black people that were still like just kind of killing each other and taking from each other. So for me, I guess it was a little better society knowing that it was the white people that was always trying to take from Black people, as opposed to Black people consistently taking from each other. So
So I
that
could
was.
speak to that,
I'd
but
like to.
I'm gonna allow someone. Go ahead, Sue, speak
I'd
to
like to
that if
say
you.
something about that because in the presentation I shared about what happens. Remember, Africa was colonized, and being colonized, they were made to see themselves differently than how they had seen themselves before the white man came. And that they internalize that perception of themselves. And what happens when you internalize yourself as being less than? You're told you're less than. You're told you don't count. You're told you don't have a culture, any culture. You're told, and you can't see anything around you to discredit what they're saying because they've already destroyed it all. And so you're told that you're barbarians, or you're bamboo or baboons or whatever. And so you internalize that over time. And so the next thing that happens is that you begin to hate yourself and you begin to hate others who look like you. And when you do that, it's easy then to have wars in which you are attacking each other. I think we have to own that as something that we do so that we can develop the kind of Black consciousness that Wendell Pierce was talking about, um, that will change the way in which we see ourselves separate from how we're seen. And we have to talk what was said about the double consciousness. We have to get rid of that double consciousness, just have one, a Black consciousness, that between us and God, we know who we are. We're the chosen people. Why can't we embrace that instead of what white people are telling us we are? That's all.
Miss Lena, I'm going to let you speak. Are you going to speak to that, or you have another issue? You're on mute. You're on mute, Lena. You were off mute, but you click it one more time. You'll go off mute. There you go. There you are.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to mention about like the perception of beauty. So I used to teach, African American literature. So one of the authors was Olaudah Equiano, or Gustavus Vassa, the African. He was an Igbo, and he, in his narrative, his slave narrative, he talked about his experiences in Benin, but it was today's Nigeria. He talked about those. It was written in 1789. And so one of the observations he made about beauty was that those Africans who had lighter skins, whose skins were tawny, were considered ugly or deformed. And so, that was before the coming of the European. And so we could look at how their perceptions of beauty changed as a result of coming into contact, with the Europeans, mixing. And then he, talks about those intermarrying who live near the coast, intermarrying with Europeans. And so, gradually and over time, their perceptions of beauty evolved and changed. So even today, there's that problem with skin bleaching in West Africa, for example. I know the first time I went to Ghana in 1977, when I was in the car going into Accra, and I looked up and saw this billboard. There was a big billboard advertising bleaching cream, and I was really surprised. And so now, and just over the years when I've gone, like they have placards that are outside of like beauty shops or barber shops, and of course all the models that they use have lighter skins, so they totally bought into that concept. The colorism has totally penetrated their society.
Yeah. Let me go back to what the previous person had to say. I remember I was in Senegal. I think I was in maybe Ghana. I can't remember. I think maybe Ghana. And there was a young woman who was traveling with the group that I was with, and she had the same sentiments. As a matter of fact, she was she became emotional, that she was disappointed that she didn't see the kings and the queens and all the things that she had heard that she would see in Africa. And I remember, having to explain to her that, had we been left alone, right? We need to not lose sight of the fact that the richest, Africa is the richest continent of all. And that's why they're still there trying to exploit us. They took the people, they want to take the minerals, the gold, the artifacts, all that stuff. And I'm loving this new generation of African leadership who are just saying, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. We don't need your approval. We're not looking for, your validation. And especially our brother in Burkina Faso. And I forget the president's name also in Senegal,
I
but
love
these
what he's
young,
doing.
yes, these young leaders are just like, no, we're not doing that. And, they're booting these European countries out of Africa. And this, perpetual indebtedness to Europe. They're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. So we have to pray and keep pray that our young brothers are protected, because it's a new day in Africa. So I think that, what you had to say, some people might feel that way. Most people, though, when they go to Africa, as they go back to Africa, there's a sense of being home, kiss the ground, bring back dirt, that whole kind of thing. I can't say I've ever had that experience, but it definitely is a good feeling to be on the continent. And it is a homely type feeling. And I've been to 7 countries over there. So
wow, wonderful. Yeah.
Helen, can I say I've never been to either of them? And thank you, Ms. St. Clair, for your presentation. But I will say, having done my DNA, and Helen, I've done my DNA, I posted it on our chat 100 times. What I'm struck by, and I guess having spent almost 20 years in a profession defending mostly Black parents against removals and trying to prevent Child Protective Service removals, what I was struck by in looking at the distance and in the DNA and the relatives and how the close relatives and the distant relatives, and it dawned on me that a lot of the distant and even not so distant relatives are likely related and were related when we were
pulled from Africa, and families and husbands and wives and siblings were all separated, and as a result, we're all around the globe. I also look at distant or third or fourth cousins, even here, and I think, we're related by virtue of having been sired by a common Black man, and that's the relationship. So it means a lot to me to one day go to Africa and connect with home.
That day is soon, Laura. I can sense it. Right, Dion? We can sense it. But anybody else have any thoughts, or anybody else? I'm going to call out some folks because I know you guys have been to the motherland, and let's bring it home. Let's bring it home to where we are. I see in the chat that somebody said, "Can we stop using the N word?" I didn't hear. Did somebody use the N word? And can we address? That went over. I missed it.
No, I put that in the chat because I hear it a lot.
Okay.
And I'm so tired of hearing it. And I'm hearing young Black people, girls, boys, adults referring to each other as the N-word all the time. And particularly like on the subway if I happen to be on the subway when the kids are getting out of school at 3 o'clock and the Black kids are referring to each other as the N-word, as though they don't know the first name of the person that they're talking to. And now that the Puerto Ricans are using the N-word, and when I was getting ready to get off the subway, there was a Black man sitting there near the door. And I was talking to him about this N-word, and he said he's the principal of the school that these kids are coming from. He says, and he hears it in the hallway all the time, the N-word. And he says he needs to talk to them about it, but they don't give a you-know-what,
Wow. I think that's so much a part of the lack of knowing who we really are. I mean, just think if we're not actively sharing with everyone, especially our children, about where we come from and our history, our ancient history, because otherwise we have our American culture, but we don't know about the ancient culture that we're connected with. And if they knew that and could take pride and feel noble because of that, that's what would help them to not use the N-word anymore. Just telling them not to use it isn't enough.
I think one of the things that we can do is have Saturday schools, or we can have after-school tutoring programs. We as a community can take some initiatives, and we don't need anybody's permission to celebrate us, right? You're talking about Black inventors and, Black discoveries or what have you. We don't, we can have our own, like, let's even with Juneteenth. Black people have been taking off Juneteenth forever. I remember when I was in high school, long before there was a Martin Luther King holiday, the Black kids, we stayed home and all of our parents let us. And so we don't need to have other people tell us how to celebrate and how to identify ourselves. And we have done a disservice. I'll even say my generation, like, we haven't done a good job at passing on the information about us. So that's why our young people, like, if they could just all go to Egypt as young people to see the wonders of who we are, the roots of who we are. I was on a chat on a grown Black man, and he said something about us, about not being African. And he said something, and I said, well, aren't we all African? And he said, no, that his family was far removed. And he had, because I said we were all of the same root, whether we're in Jamaica or here, whatever, we have the same root, and that root is Africa. And when he said that he could not identify, I said, then, we really don't have a conversation. I mean, what is a conversation to have with somebody who doesn't understand that your root is Africa? I have no conversation. Now, a child, we can talk, but a grown person, I'm not wasting my energy.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Well, the
anybody
question
else have any?
you asked us, are we our ancestors?
Yes, are we our
And for
ancestors?
me, yes, I am them. That's why I can dream of them. That's why there are voices of reason within me. And there's proof. In Fairfield, South Carolina, they excavated a burial mound, and the skeletal remains that they removed and did their DNA testing and their isotopic testing. She was from the 10th century. She had lived her whole life on the eastern seaboard. Her DNA linked her to the Mende people of Sierra Leone. But there she was, buried in a mound in what is now Fairfield County, South Carolina. When I had my African DNA done, I too was from the Mende people. And African ancestry DNA goes back 2,000 years, whereas most companies only go back 500 years. My tribal roots are from Fairfield County, South Carolina. And so getting the report that my people were there, as my grandmother had always said, yeah, we came from Africa. We just came at different times. And so by the time the slave trade began of African people, what they don't talk about is the removal campaign that removed the Black indigenous people from the eastern seaboard.
Right.
But we were moved and erased for as long as they possibly could. But,
right.
Twice a day, a clock is correct, right? Twice, Donald Trump has said something that the Indians in the school books that he read were Black people, and that all tribes had to take back their Black members, and that we were the indigenous people of America. So I was like, okay, can you pull out those reparation checks? Because that is what will help us get where we need to be. We really do have to have money.
We got no reparations because we just sent it all to Argentina. We sent it all to Israel. We
Okay,
sent it
so
all to Donald Trump.
our babies don't get any meat. So how are we supposed to buy Argentinian beef without SNAP benefits? So I rest. Yes, I am my ancestors, and happily so. In fact, Helen,
yes.
Do you have an ancestor who was named Sarah Higginbotham in the New Jersey area in the late 1600s?
Oh, I have right here. I can look it up as we talk. I have somebody did a really good ancestry tree of us. So I'll look for Sarah. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
good,
from
because
Jersey. So.
she is a foremother of mine.
Oh.
And I said, ooh, I might be Miss Higgy's cousin. I might be a Miss Higgy too.
Hey.
And so if she is, then here Helen and I would be descended from colonial America. And she is from a patriot family. So I thought I'd share that with you, potential cousin.
I will. We're all cousins anyway, but I'll look it up. I certainly will. Jocelyn, you had your hand up. Did I lose you? Jocelyn, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Go ahead, Miss.
Everyone. Miss St. Clair. I want to call you Dr. St. Clair because you
I
really
know, right? She did a good job, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, but I'm not a doctor.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you.
But thank you.
Did you want to? You've been to.
Were you going to say something?
Was
she going to say something?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
When we talk
Now
about
we can hear you.
hieroglyphics, the proper name is the Medu Netra, because hieroglyphics is something that the Greek used. That's the terminology that they use. So we want to, fast forward and do other things. And we all know, because of the current climate in our nation, that it's an assault on our history. They're trying to erase everything. So I'm so glad that you shared all the information that you did with us, because it's incumbent upon us to share it with our youth, also with older people, because so many people just don't know all the fabulous, marvelous things that we've done. This nation would not even exist if it wasn't for us. We built the White House that the sister that just spoke about, DT, Cheeto Boy, the toddler president. I don't know. There's so many names I could call him. He's tearing down what we built. We built the White House, but that's a whole nother thing. But I'm just proud to share that I live in New Jersey, and that some of my former colleagues, I'm a retired educator, we have been hosting an African American History Bowl for about 5 years. And we have high school students that compete, and it's just a wonderful experience. So one of the young ladies, her daughters were interested in it, and they made a video to go with our study guide. So we had a session with some adults, so enthusiastic. They were so excited because this was information they never heard about. And they said, how come we didn't learn this in school? Because they didn't teach it to us. But like Helen said, Saturday schools, freedom schools, we have to get the information out. That's what we always did. The churches made sure that the youth knew about what was going on. And like Helen said, she's been to Africa. I've been, I think, 8 or 9 times. South Africa, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Morocco, Kenya twice, Ghana twice, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Zanzibar, and all of the countries I visited, each was a little different, but each one, the people were to see us. I went with a group of, and they welcomed us. So I have the experience the other sisters are fighting with that. But part of that is because of conversation. We had a negative experience here. They had the same, not the same, but they had negative also. Their culture was stripped from them. And like you talked about how we're taught to hate ourselves. We don't realize we are the most beautiful people in the universe. And those other people envy us. They want locks. They're out in the sun trying to get a tan. They love our culture, they're stealing our music, whatever, but yet they hate us. So it's a dichotomy. But I just
They said they want our rhythm, but they don't want our blues.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Miss St. Clair, thank you again. And
thank you, Jocelyn.
I'm glad that you recorded it because I want to share it with my friends.
Okay.
I do. I'm just like so excited. I see your African dolls in the background. I was like, yay.
There's a story behind that, actually.
Yes.
If you'd like to hear it.
Certainly.
It's a friend of mine in South Carolina, and she lives in, not South Carolina, in Atlanta, in Charleston. Charleston is South Carolina, right?
South Carolina. Charleston is
South Carolina then. Anyway, I've only known her through the internet because, Zoom. But she told me about when her mother was dying and she was sitting beside her bed, staying with her. She needed something to do with her hands. Here we are. We're so creative. So she had these scraps of cloth that a friend of hers that was living in the Gambia, moved to the Gambia, had sent her. So she took those scraps of cloth and started creating dolls like this. And so then it got to the point where she thought, oh, wow, this is really something. So when her mom died, she continued to do it, and she was able to take it to the museum there, and they took a few of them and started selling them. So she decided that she was going to send half the money back to the Gambia And the ladies there use that money to start, they have what's called micro micro
Micro loans.
micro loans. Well, it was like it wasn't a loan, it was funding. But they used that to start a farm, and they were able to grow all kinds of vegetables and sell them in the market, and it became an enterprise. And so then they started sending her more cloth, so she continues to make these dolls. So I bought 2 of them because I think they're so special. Thank you for noticing.
We'll have to have her on so she can tell us about what she's doing. That's beautiful.
And how we can order dolls. You have to
Oh
give
yeah,
us
you
her.
can if you're
Yeah.
interested. I can send you her
Oh,
information.
definitely interested.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, for sure.
I can send it. Was that you, Helen, that said that?
No, somebody, yeah, but I co-sign it.
I can
No, I said
send
I
it
would
to
like
you,
to
and
have
you
her
can.
on. I would like to have her on so
Oh,
she
that
can
would
talk
be
about.
one. Yeah, I've had her on too, because she
Yeah,
made a trip to the Gambia, so I had her on to talk about it.
right. Yeah.
I can
If you
send you
go
her
to Senegal,
information.
you go to has anybody been to Senegal since they put up the latest? I have not been since they put up the new, I don't think it's new anymore. The statue of the husband and the wife, and he's holding the baby and reaching back. Has anybody been
I
since
know,
then?
but I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, they say it's the biggest statue on the continent. So I look forward to it. So yeah. But anyway, those were my thoughts on this, and I think that, the other part of Are We Our Ancestors comes to us having the resilience that we, have, that we need right now, that we need to remind ourselves and remind one another that we've been through a lot. And I was so glad to hear you say that we're the chosen people, because I say that all the time without the foundation that you just gave me, which I will now use. But yeah, I always say I don't know how could we not be the chosen people? I don't know who the chosen people are or whatever, but how could it not be Black folks? We have been through so much, and we're still here. We're still here. We're still thriving, and much to the chagrin of others. And I think we should never lose sight of that. Never lose sight of that.
Well,
So
even
thank you.
Chat GPT said they asked Chat if they could come, if God could come to Earth, and Chat GPT said that God would be a Black person. And then a Black
Yes.
woman took it further and asked what gender, and said Chat GPT said that he would be a Black male.
A male.
White people got so upset they took it down. However, with AI, if you ask a question exactly the same, ultimately it regenerates the original answer that it gave. And so they asked it consistently, few people asked it over, and then it regenerated that original response. And it's fed information. So if it makes the calculated, response, then that's as accurate as it can be.
Exactly. If that's what Chat
There's
GPT synthesizes, then that's what it is. I saw that. I just
there's
didn't
an
know if it
interesting
was.
thing there about being Black and being the one uh, to come back. They've done a study, I think it was a Pew Research Center that did the study about spirituality in America, and they found that Black people are the most spiritual of all peoples in America. The second thing is that Black women are the most spiritual, and Black women are the ones that they think will lead the country to what is it, to lead the country in uh, not clearing racism, in rising above racism. That would be Black women. And I thought that's very interesting. I believe it too. I believe it because I think Black women are and even in Africa before the Europeans and Arabs took over, women, there were many of the societies were matriarchal societies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And many of the women were warriors.
what was that? What did they say?
Many of the women were warriors.
Yes, 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 yes.
They led
Dahomey was one of those that was most, that I think they did a movie about it not too long ago, about the Dahomey warriors were women.
Viola Davis. I can't think of the name of it. What was the name of the movie, y'all?
Woman King.
Woman King. Yes, yes, yes.
And Dahomey is Benin.
I didn't realize until today. I'm glad somebody said that. I didn't. Somebody was saying that Benin was formerly. Nigeria was formerly Benin. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's why I love that first map that you put up.
Yeah,
And
Benin has its own country now.
Can you put it up again?
Put up the map again, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, I said that about Olaro Equiano, the Igbo, who was formerly Benin, but is today present-day Nigeria, where he lived.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that's good. I mean, I know Kemet. You hear some of them you hear. Like I knew Kemet was Egypt and Akan, I knew that was Ghana. But I don't.
I'm sorry, the one with that shows the movement.
Oh, the migration.
Yeah.
With the red lines, Sue.
This one was good too.
With the red lines where people moved.
Oh, that's the one you want?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this one?
I was talking about the one you showed, but Judy wants to see this one again.
Yeah, I was looking at that one too.
I love this one too.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And then this is the one. Just look at the number of empires and kingdoms that existed.
Right.
That we know nothing about, many of us anymore.
Right.
For sure. For sure.
Helen, I've got to go. I enjoyed this. I have a 6 o'clock family Zoom, but I want to end by saying we better be our ancestors because we're getting ready to go through something. And we better be our ancestors, as strong, as resilient, as smart, as cunning, as wise, as all of those things that they were that got us here.
Collective.
Collective, right.
Can't keep moving like individual.
Right. We better be them.
Yeah.
So thank you for this.
No, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed this as well. Sue, first of all, before I ask Sue for any parting words that she might have, is there anybody who wants to share anything before we go? Dion, are you here? Or are you gone? Or did you leave already? Dion. I think Dion's gone. Dion is actually taking.
He's here.
Is it Dion? Okay, he's not. Dion, I was just gonna say that you're getting ready to take a group to Ghana November what?
November 6th through the 14th.
Oh, nice.
So if you got some fast money and you want to hop on his trip, go right ahead.
I don't have a leg. Dion, are you going next year?
Say that again.
I said I only have one leg to stand on, but are you going next year to Ghana?
Every year, so I can't go no more.
You said you go every year?
Every year till I can't go no more, I'm going.
Okay.
And he just got back from Kenya. Yeah, he just got back from Kenya. We were talking about trying to do something. We're gonna do something together next year. And we're also gonna do Japan, folks.
Yep.
Okay. I would really like to go to Ghana. I'd like to go to Japan. But I have another friend. We were going to go during, and then we had put down our deposit when COVID hit. So I would still like to really go.
Okay.
A whole lot of plans.
So Helen, if I could.
Yes, please.
please.
I want to congratulate Dion, taking our young folks on journeys outside of the country to expand our understanding of the world and our own self-esteem is something that I think is critically important. And so I'm hoping that by way of When Black Women Gather, that there could be two things that could come out of it. And so could there be, when I went to Cuba the first time, I was I planted the idea, I should say, of an academy for the international travel for African American youth. I was going to call it AFIA. And I think that is still something that when you read Paul Robeson, when you read Du Bois, when you read a lot of different people who talk about their experiences, Arthur Ashe said we should all be citizens of the world. I think that the better that we can make sure that our young people understand it, then the easier it is for the ideas that we've been discussing today for them to embrace them. And so, Sue, I congratulate you. I think the information is absolutely tremendous. Is there
Thank you so much.
Could a curriculum be developed for young people that could be a week to week or month to month? And so that then the information is imparted the way that our young people can understand it. And then we could have celebrations. So someone said that they had, bowls with like competition bowls with the children. Then I think that would be something that all of us could figure out a way to contribute to. So Kwanzaa coming up, King's birthday coming up, African American History Month coming up, Women's Heritage Month coming up. There are ample opportunities for us to engage our children and members of the community in this kind of conversation. And so if there is some form of a form that is more digestible for children to understand, I think it's absolutely incredible. And so lastly, I have had the privilege, I was in Kemet last year with Dr. Carr. There were 105 of us on the trip. I went
Was
the
this
first
trip
time
that big? Wow.
Yeah, it was 105. It was 115 degrees every day, but it was 105 of us braving the heat to go pay tribute to our greatest ancestors, or at least some of our greatest ancestors. And when I first pondered this question, I was thinking of Harriet and Frederick Douglass and Denmark and Nat and all the sisters, brothers that fought back. And so I was like, but there were ancestors that turned them in. and so there's different ancestors for us to embrace, right? So we got the ancestors that fought back, the ancestors that ran away, the ancestors that poisoned, that burned stuff down, but also ancestors that turned us in. So the spectrum of who our ancestors are, something that's really important. And so, but I think that the more we engage in this conversation, the more beneficial it is for all of us. And that whenever I do libation and call these ancestors names, and we're engendering their spirit and grateful for the fact that they have sacrificed what they have, and for us to be able to move in the world the way we do now. And yes, we do need to capture that energy, that resource, and that commitment, because the madman that's occupying the White House right now. And I want to say this, and I'm not trying to frighten anybody, but I want us to consider that the destruction that's taking place at the White House, and yes, it was our ancestors that helped to construct it. But is this fool building a bunker underneath? Because
That's
he's
what I saw
planning to
today.
be here for a while. And so we have some very important work to do right now. And I think that these conversations can strengthen us, can give us the courage that we need to be able to face the challenge that we face today.
Right. Thank you. I saw that today that there's a suggestion that he is building a bunker under
Oh,
it.
good,
And
because
then
Hitler built a bunker, and look how things turned out.
Somebody in the chat said there's already a bunker there.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
It was already under the East Wing?
There's one there.
I mean, I know that they have something at the Pentagon, and it would make sense that they have something at the White House.
Yeah, he probably would want to expand it anyhow. Have a luxury bunker.
It would be gaudy, very gaudy. He likes gaudy.
Yes,
yeah, I'm trying to find the blog I wrote this week to share with you guys.
So,
Helen?
is this the
Yes,
bill?
I'm sorry. What was your
I got
question?
something to say to Brother Bill. So I've been taking my son back and forth to Ghana. He's been at least 4 times. I think the first time he was 6 or 7, and I'm 52. And my first memory of Africa was the UNICEF commercial. So my idea was he would never have that narrative. So he'd been to Cuba with me as well, and he plays basketball. So now everywhere we go, I try to find basketball for him so that, when he talk about Africa, and he here right now, we putting up some mini blinds. So I'm gonna see if I can get him. But I wanted his narrative to be different, So now tell the people what you think about your first trip or your trips abroad, real quick. I'm sorry, he had his earpieces on. Stand up for 1 second.
Where is he on camera? Are you on camera?
Going back and forth to Ghana and Cuba and all these places that you've been to.
I think it's a great experience, great learning experience too.
How did you feel when you played basketball in Cuba and Portugal and places like that?
It was great.
Did it tie into the things that you wanted to do?
Yes.
And what do you think about Africa as a whole?
I think it's a great place to go.
So, Brother Bill and everybody, this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Keep up the great work, Dion. I love it, brother. I love it for sure.
Right,
Yes, sir.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep sharing. Yeah, because if we don't do it right, if we don't expose our children and have these conversations with them, who will? And you know what? More importantly, who should? If it's not our responsibility, whose responsibility is it? No other community has allowed that their voices be silenced, but us, because if we defend ourselves, if you talk about, discrimination, racism, or the inequities or what have you, somehow you're this angry Negro. Like, really? Maybe we should be angry, right? But we've allowed that to silence us, And, we used to get all our information from where? Black radio, Black magazines, Black newspapers, Black bookstores. Even our Black churches have been compromised. Our Black music has been hijacked. We found our strength in music. And so we need to get back. There was a T-shirt out in the 90s. It was called "Get Black to the Basics," and that's what we need to do.
So one last thing I want to say there before I jump off.
Yes.
That white folks take credit for all kind of inventions. And so when Sue was talking about when the light bulb was invented, that was Louis Latimer that helped to, facilitate it, all those kind of things. The one thing that white folks invented that they do not take credit for is racism.
I knew you were going to say racism. I knew you were going to say it took the word right out of my mouth, Mr. Davis.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And they're having a hard time dealing with it right now because it's in their face. And one thing that we can say that we've learned is that the conversations around the dinner tables in white America have not changed. That's the only way that they've kept this thing going from generation to generation to generation. And let's be clear, they're not willing to turn their back on it because it's their grandfather. It's too close. But I'm loving the awakening of lots of white folks who are recognizing that they've been lied to here and in other parts, Israel to speak of. I mean, people are recognizing that they have been fed, and us too, right? Black folks are waking up, learning our history. So there's an awakening. So, when they say they don't like woke people, what's the opposite of being woke? Sleep. And sleep means, that I'm detached. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. So I'm all for being woke. And as we're talking about Africa, I put in the chats here, I'm taking a group to Alabama at the end in December, because we need to celebrate our history here as well, right? Africa is important, but the history that we have here in the States is important as well. So if anybody's interested, I still have a few slots left. I have one person who's looking for a roommate. And yes, there are guys on this trip. There's one guy on this trip. So if there's a guy who wants to go, come on. And when we do Africa, Japan, or what have you next year, it will be a co-ed trip, because if any time that we need to be coming together as a community, it's now. right? And when we have these opportunities that we can grow together, we have to. But I put the flyer in the chat for Alabama, and we're doing. I did this trip in 2019. It was wildly successful, so I'm doing it again. And we're doing Tuskegee, Selma, and Montgomery. Brian Stevenson's work in Montgomery is phenomenal, and it has expanded since I was there. So I look forward to doing it again. So anyway, if you're interested, reach out. So on that note, you all have been wonderful. Sue, do you have some parting words for us?
No, just that this has been wonderful to be able to do this and to have the conversation where you can hear from others. It's never about one way, it's always a two-way thing. So I've learned things from the participants here as well. So that's how it works. You know, one person mentioned, one of the men mentioned how it would be important if we could create a curriculum for children. That's something I've been really thinking about here in Nashville, because as I do this, I keep thinking about the children who don't know. And so his bringing that up is very timely, I think.
I see he
For
just put his number in the chats for Jocelyn. So take it up, write it down, reach out to
oh
him. Bill Davis, he's a Jersey guy.
oh, I see it. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd be happy to contribute every way I can.
Okay. I got it.
We can even do things like, we can do online things. I had this vision of doing after school programs with kids, but requiring that parents, at least once a month, you can drop your kids off and we will keep them for after school stuff, but you got to come one time a month and be engaged in this program so that your kid can see that you too are interested in this history.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was one of my ideas. And I also put in the chats you all a link for donations. I do this all the time. It's work and effort making this thing happen. So I'm going to start, I keep saying it every year and I have. I'm going to start doing a dues program, but I really am. It'll be very minimal, but that way I don't have to keep asking for donations. But yeah, so if it's on your heart, you can do that for me. And anybody else I want to call out? I was surprised. Damani, is he gone? I was surprised he didn't talk about his. Is he gone? I think he's gone. Gary Bullard, did you want to say anything? I see you're on the call.
I just want to say thank you again for this program. I love you, Sue, and I support your every endeavor and always enlightening. And again, a reminder of who we are, that we're still here. And I believe in that for our children, because the narrative that's always been sold was to hate our Blackness, and that we are, our history is shared from this enslaved perspective, and we're much more than that. And they need to know that, constantly be reminded of that. And there's no such thing as white supremacy. That's the biggest fallacy. So those things right there, is no such thing as white supremacy. So to erase that even from our vocabulary, someone mentioned that the other, and that's just taken on what it's done for me. So I imagine if we pass it on to our children now, that they don't even have the thought of there's such a thing, because it's made up. So again, I just love and support you, and thank you, Helen. Again, always, I'm just a fly on the wall, just taking it all to feed in my spirit. So thank you all.
Wait,
Thank you
before
for
you
being
go,
here, Gary. Love you much.
Before we go, Sue, please tell us about your monthly program that you do.
Yeah. It's called Spirit of Blackness. And each month we have a program on a particular topic, like this one was, where we have discussion. I usually have slides that prompt the conversation. And it's about our recognizing who we are. It's all about that. And it's about we're also recognizing the things that we want to stop doing to each other in order so that we can live as sisters and brothers as we're meant to be. But it's a safe space. It's only Black people. And Gary's been there, Helen's been there. So anyone that's interested in participating, I just need your email address I send out an announcement the Friday before and the Monday of. It's always on a Monday evening, the third Monday of the month.
Yes, and it's very enlightening. The last one that we had on Monday talked about the trust factor. Yeah.
Oh
Damani, what
yeah,
do you mean? What do
moving
I want you
from,
to talk about? Damani, I'm going to bring you on screen. I mean, you are just like the father of Blackness, of Black history. So we need your words of wisdom before we part. Where is he? I'm trying to find him so I can bring him on screen. Oh, he doesn't have his
oh, you
camera
want the
on.
contact information for the dolls. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, do that too. Damani, are you going to share anything with us before you leave us? There he
I
is.
appreciate the
I always put,
invitation.
he knows
Appreciate
I
the
always put him
invitation.
on the spot.
A lot has been said. I think the bottom line is we're African people, and we came across in different boats. We're all on the same one now, and that applies to those still on the continent, in Asia, in the Caribbean, South America, Panama, where my wife and I lived for 20 years, and Africa must unite. And I would underline what you said about Brother Traore in Burkina Faso. He's doing some very amazing things. I will also caution everybody that there's a lot of fake positive information about him. I don't understand what's going on with that. You would expect a lot of fake negative information, but there's a lot of fake positive information. But nonetheless, he and his cohorts in Niger and Mali are doing some great things. And several of the other countries are nearby are beginning to realize it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
But Africa must unite. And Africans everywhere must unite.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And on that note, I'm going to take away the spotlights. Sue, cannot thank you enough. I hope that you will come and share with us again on another occasion. And I hope that you all will, and if you don't, if you don't get information from Sue, you can reach out to me and I'll give you her information so that you can get on her email list. I think you put your information in the chats, didn't you, Sue?
Oh, that's the information for CT who does the dolls. And mine is
yeah, so that people can join you on the with the Monday calls.
Uh-huh.
Are they always on Monday?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. Great.
And that's mine. That's my email.
All right. So, and on that note, I'm just going to ask everybody to unmute, please, so we can do what we do and sign off. Those of you who know, hey, Dr. Lisa, what's going on, girl? I see you up there. And Miss Cox, I need you to call me so we can talk about this trip. You need to come. But
Okay.
when okay, we got you? Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, call me. My number's on that flyer. Call me. When Black women gather,
amazing things
happen.
Yes.
this has been another amazing Sunday, and I thank you all for gathering with me. And we'll see you next week. Got some good
Thank
stuff coming.
you.
Thank you.
And if
Have a
anybody
great
on here
day.
wants to be a guest, let me know. I'm always looking for topics and people to co-host. So on that note, I'll start recording and thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Thank you. Shay.
Yeah.
Peace and blessings.
Absolutely. It was wonderful.
Well, there's a lot of emails here. I need to make a copy of this.
Oh,
Okay.
you mean the chats? I'll get them to you. Or
Okay,
you
thank
can
you.
copy them. Anybody who wants to copy the chats, if you go to the top of the screen, you'll
I
see
just
3
made a
little
copy.
dots. Okay. So if anybody
Yeah.
wants some or you can't get them, let me know. I'll get it out to you. And also this video will be available to you soon as well. Okay.